Welcome back to another segment of Arizona Barrio Stories and Chicano Hollywood TV. This is Dr. José Leyba with La Platica. What we try to do here at Arizona Barrio Stories is tell our history through our eyes. And much of that history, as you well know, has been ignored in the history books. And you're going to hear it right from credible sources who have lived that history. Today, my guest, Sonia Reyes Corella, is a very well-known engineer, entrepreneur. She's also a mentor for young scholars with the Los Diablos Latino Alumni Association at Arizona State University. And she has an amazing story to tell about the development and the founding of Arizona State University's Tempe Normal School, the original university, which Mexican Americans here had a part in building. Isn't that right?
That's true. Oh, that's absolutely true.
So welcome, Sonia. Tell us a little bit about your family history and how that's impacted your life and you as a leader.
Okay, well, my history is really about Arizona. So I was born in Phoenix. My parents were born in Phoenix. All four of my grandparents were born in Phoenix. If you go back one of the lines of my ancestry, my fourth-time great-grandfather was the commander, the Spanish commander of the Tubac Presidio.
Wow, amazing.
His son married Manuela Sotelo, who was Sanchez then, and then became Sotelo. He came up here to work, up in Tempe. He ended up dying. Before he had done that, he had bought 160 acres on the corner of the southeast corner of University and Rural, of all places, right by ASU.
Now, right, so now individuals who aren't from Arizona or Phoenix, you have to know that's where the whole footprint of Arizona State University is today, and yet your family owned that.
Right, they owned that one corner, and once he passed, and it's kind of a crazy story, which would take forever to tell, but he has two older sons were with him as well, and all three of them passed within a year.
Wow!
So his wife came up here and said, "I don't want all of his work to go to waste." She came up here with all of her younger kids at age from 20 to 5, right? And she took care of, she managed this land, these 160 acres. The information I got from my uncle is she couldn't read or write. This woman was managing this and farming this land. And also she's considered one of the first developers of Tempe because she was selling some of the land as well. And she's also considered the Mexican mother of Tempe itself.
Right, correct.
So she ended up, and she bought other land too. After that, she bought land in Gilbert, in Mesa, in Queen Creek, back in the late 1800s. Fast forward a little bit of time, she ends up putting money down to buy the land for the territorial normal school, which is now Arizona State.
Okay.
So she put money for the land. So she's one of the founders, Manuela Sotelo. She had then had grandchildren that were the first Mexican American graduates from this school.
Oh, well, wait a minute. We have to make that point. Here you have a Chicana, Mexican American woman, single, raising kids, and being that entrepreneurial spirit and donating the land for the university.
Right, she donated money for the land. She was one of the people, right? So,
and you're not going to read that in any history book.
I never did. In fact, I went to ASU. I have 2 degrees from ASU, and I didn't know this story until years after I had left, and my uncle was doing this research about our family. But she was quite an amazing woman. They say she was very tough. I believe she came up here with 8 daughters and 1 son.
Wow!
And all the women were very tough, and but she did all this herself, and somehow I never heard about it. Right. And it's actually kind of amazing. I'm like, I go to Hispanic Convocation and volunteer there. I'm part of Los Diablos and volunteer there, and I never hear anything about this woman. I'm like, we've got to get her story out there.
Right.
Is she part of Founders Day when ASU has Founders Day? This is important stuff, and I think it's motivation for other people too. And again, this woman couldn't read or write, but she knew how important education was for all of us.
So let's kind of change gears a little bit now. We know the importance of your mother, your great grandmother, what
Right.
she did, and how that impacted the development of the university.
Right.
But how did was that your motivation to get an education? Because
no.
let's face it, you know, Chicanas, Latinas, normally we're told you're going to go to the kitchen, right?
Right.
And yet she wasn't in the kitchen; she was running the business. So how did that impact you, Sonia?
So now I didn't know about her, so
Okay.
things may have been a little bit different had
She
I.
was giving you some karma, right?
Right. Well, it's probably in my DNA a little
Yeah,
bit,
I'm
right?
sure it is.
Right. But fast forward a little bit. Now we're talking about my grandfather, my dad's father. He was from Superior, Arizona. Then he moved to Phoenix.
Okay.
He was in World War II, a Marine in World War II. He wanted a better life for his family. So by the 1968, he had bought a new home in a little place called Maryvale. So he was all about bettering his life, his children's life. So this is my dad's dad. So no, translated into my parents, right?
Sure.
My mom and dad. I actually remember both of my parents going to night school. And my mother went to Glendale Community
Wow.
College. She took me with her.
How amazing.
I went to that little daycare there at night, and I remember that. And then when I was 5, my dad graduated from Phoenix College.
Wow.
So I knew that it was important. So I always had plans, right? And I got accepted to the University of Arizona. I got accepted to the Aerospace Engineering program. I had the Regent Scholarship, so I was set. Well, here we go. 31 days before I'm supposed to leave.
Sure.
I find out that I'm going to have a baby.
Oh.
So now I'm going. Why am I going? For my kids.
Right.
My kid.
Right.
Now I have to make a better life for her. It's not just me anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So I worked, I went to school, I had my daughter, and when she was in kindergarten, I got my Bachelor of Science in Engineering, and then 8 years later, I got my Master of Engineering.
Wow. And for our audience, it's all about hard work and determination, but that's what our history, our families have done for us. You know, their sacrifices and their willingness to give us a better life, I think, is what have motivated many of us. And I can relate to your story about going with your mom to community college. I remember we used to drop my mom off to community college. I mean, my brother would watch my 2 sisters, and that had an impact on me. I didn't know when, but
Right.
it had a definite impact.
Yeah.
So tell me about something that you would like to say to our audience about this history and how we can get our audience to look at their history and their families and do some research. Talk to Dr. Christine Marin at Arizona State University, and how important that is to us as a community and as a people.
Well, like for me, you might find out something so amazing that you can't believe, because that's how it is for me. This woman, I didn't get generational wealth from her, but I got generational opportunity. So 108 years after that bill got signed for that school, I was graduating from there. Both my kids also went there. Like, and I don't know why the stories didn't get passed down. You know, it's worth a look. There could be something amazing that you can't believe, because we're hard people.
Right. Well, I think Dr. Angela Valenzuela, a colleague of mine from the University of Texas at Austin, has written a book on the politics of care. And she says in her book that in order to teach Mexican-American children, you have to love them. You got to care about them. And I think telling kids about their history and their identity helps them form a positive image of themselves. Now, how has that impacted your children?
Well, now, I mean, even just for me, I'm very proud about that. I want everybody to hear this story. Like, this is amazing. I mean, what a conversation starter to say my 3-time great grandmother was one of the founders of ASU. That's a whoever you are. That's
a great opening line.
Yeah,
I love it.
And so, I mean, I forward the information to my kids. You know, by the time my son went, you know, I knew about it. So he was saying, "Oh yeah, some of the first graduates from ASU, I'm related to them."
Right.
So I mean, it's just a sense of pride to just, you know, you kind of pull your shoulders back a little more, and hey, look at me.
Yeah. Well, that pride is really important. You know, it's called, I used to call it when I was growing up, it was called brown pride, you know, and being very proud of who we are and the contributions you have made. And that's why it's so important for Arizona Barrio Stories and Chicano Hollywood TV to tell these stories. So in closing, we have a minute. What would you like to say to our audience about history and culture and how it's impacted your life?
Well, like I said, it was generational opportunity. This woman was here. I didn't even know about her, and she because of her, I was able to go to school here, and I was able to graduate from here, and I was able to get an education here. My kids were able to get an education here. So many other people that live here can get an education here, and there's, I would say, continue. We have the opportunity. Take it. I love that.
This is José Leyba with La Platica. I want to thank our guest. I'm going to call her Sonia because I feel like she's my new comadre, my new shiro. And we'll see you next time talking about our stories, our history. Don't forget it. It's important. Viva la raza. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.